So why Lord
well,
Krishna
are
did
you
not protect them?
trying to find out some information from Bangladesh? Do you realize that the Hindus were attacked? The general Hindu
Hello, I'm not able to listen.
No, no,
yeah,
Prabhu,
it's there, right in the, well, I got it off of, not clear?
yeah, go ahead. Can you repeat again? No, no, Prabhu, the Hindus got attacked. What?
The Hindus were attacked by Muslims, Kali. Okay? Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, did you hear that? It's a festival for goddess Kali. What I'm trying to figure out or get information of, were the Bangladesh temple, ISKCON temple, catering to the Hindus by joining the Kali festival? Do you see what I'm saying?
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, Jai Pad, Hare Krishna.
Okay, what I'm trying to determine is, why would Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita protect a festival dedicated to goddess Kali? Would he? You know, people that are Hindus think that everything they do is okay, but Hindus.
You're breaking up now, Narayan Prabhu. Your voice is breaking up. Are you in a bad connection?
Chunk of the Vedic culture. I have no idea. It's clear to me. Is it clear?
It's breaking up badly.
Really?
Yes.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's breaking up
So
badly.
you
Can you,
can't-
you need to go to a window or, change connections or something, because when you speak, it breaks up. We can't hear you. It's not coming clearly.
Well, can you hear me better now?
Well, you can keep speaking, and when it goes bad, we'll tell you.
Okay. So anyhow, did you catch the idea that
You said, why
Oh.
would Krishna protect a festival for goddess Kali or Durga or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yes, because Ramakrishna made Kali worship very, very popular in Bengal. And Prabhupada's comment, I wrote a comment on the, I think it's League for 10K, that Srila Prabhupada said, because of Ramakrishna, Bengal has gone to hell. And it was Thakur Bhaktivinoda, essentially, who extricated all the Brahmins from being swayed by the Kali worship. Now, goddess Kali is the material goddess. The Vaishnavas don't worship Kali. Isn't that true? I mean, I'm trying to respond to the Prabhu who asked the question. Do we agree that there's nothing in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, if you worship Kali, I will protect you?
No, there is nothing like that.
Exactly. So Srila Prabhupada was very fanatical to escape. He said, because of Kali worship, because of Ramakrishna, what part of India are you from?
Bangalore, Karnataka.
Bangalore, okay. So, but in Calcutta, I've been to a Kali temple there, and
They're supposed
the
to worship
Ramakrishna
Kali
temple.
Mata.
Yeah, and it was very big, very expensive, very well constructed, good architecture, but totally meaningless from the point of view of the Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, or Lord Krishna as the Yuga avatar as Lord Chaitanya. Now, what I don't know, and I'd like to know, is was there any service given to the Kali, the Kali worshippers on the Kali festival in Bangladesh, was there any, in Dhaka, was there any worship given to the Kali festival via the ISKCON temple there? You know, because after all, I would suppose the majority of people going to the ISKCON temple would be Hindus, and Hindus worship Shiva, everybody, you know, Kali, Durga, Saraswati, you know, it's just all the demigods. The Hindus tend to worship the demigods.
Yes.
Prabhupada says in the Gita, those who worship the demigods will go to the planets of the demigods, and those who worship me will come to my supreme abode. So we can see with that quote from the Gita of Krishna, and when we have Prabhupada saying, because of Ramakrishna, Bengal has gone to hell, and then Vivekananda also was pursuing the same Kali worship. So if that was Kali worship amongst the Hindu community, it's possible that the ISKCON temple got roped into it by mistake by the angry Muslims. But I have a sneaky suspicion that the temple, the ISKCON temple in Dhaka, in Bangladesh, was actually supporting, giving time to, maybe they even had a little shrine to Goddess Kali in the temple, something like that. That would make a huge difference. If the devotees had locked the doors and kept everybody out during the Kali festival, I doubt that they would have been broken into. They broke in, they charred a murti of Srila Prabhupada, they destroyed a lot of things, and I think a couple of devotees were killed. So the question really is, were the devotees in the Krishna temple there to demonstrate that Krishna consciousness is above and unrelated to Kali worship, or did the temple make some sort of a concession? Because look, if you're in Dhaka and there's it's the second biggest religion is Hinduism in Bangladesh. If they have all those people and they're donating and they're coming and they say, we're having Kali Puja, please join us in some way or another, give your blessing to Kali Puja, or put an altar of Kali in the temple. If they did that, then I would say that there is a clear explanation as to why the whole thing went haywire. Because we cannot worship Kali. Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Okay, I was in Nairobi, Kenya, with Srila Prabhupada and about 4 or 5 other devotees. It was an amazing experience to be that intimately connected with Prabhupada for a couple of weeks. And in Nairobi, we had a festival, a place called Brahma Samaj, and 3,000 Hindus came there. And they very much wanted us to do demigod worship, specifically, I think, Durga. They wanted us to do puja. And Prabhupada was approached. They paid for his ticket, you see. But if I could explain, around that area, like where Kenya is, and all over there, it's a beltway. It's a circle. It's a tour. It's like a rock and roll band going on tour throughout several cities for festival sites. All the yogis and whatever, they would come around and they'd be invited. I'll pay your ticket. We'll give you some Lakshmi. Come in and we want you to do weddings, or we want you to do Durga Puja. We want you to chant Hare Krishna, whatever. So they invited Prabhupada. I was sitting there in the room of the Gujaratis, who were, pretty prosperous Gujaratis that had invited us. And the guy was sitting on the floor. Prabhupada was sitting in a very big, beautiful green corduroy Italian chair of very upscale quality. He's sitting there with a copy of the Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī in his hand. It's the one with, I think it's Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī, the one with Vishnu on the cover, with his nostrils showing, his head is sit back under the serpent of Ananta. Isn't that Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī?
Yeah.
Okay, he was there. It was that picture that made me want to become the director of the ISKCON art department, because first of all, Jadharani took a photograph of a woman, and second of all, she wanted the picture of Vishnu to look very grand and above everyone. So she photographed so you could look inside of Vishnu's nostrils. I did not like that. I'm an art professional from two artists, were my parents, classical artists, my parents. I just didn't like that, but I got a chance to redo it all when I became the art director for the BBT art department and did all the pictures for and the covers for the Srimad Bhagavatam. But anyhow, Prabhupada had that copy of the Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī in his hand, and he was sitting straight up with the Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī in his left hand, and with his right hand, he was pointing to it. And this guy who had invited us was trying to pressure Prabhupada into doing Durga Puja, He wanted Prabhupada to do, not Kali Puja, but Durga Puja. He wanted it because they were Hindus and they had different beliefs. And this was a Durga festival. They didn't want to do Hare Krishna, they wanted to do Durga. And they said, the fellow pointed out rather obviously, well, we paid for you to come, now you should do what we want. That was his basic view. Can you imagine saying that to Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah, paid for your ticket, now you do what we like to do, huh?
Yeah, we paid. You're on this tour, you go around the circle, you go to Malaysia, you go to Japan, you go to Hong Kong, Taiwan, and picking up on all the Hindus, different places in Africa, where they're in South Africa, wherever there are Hindus, you go there and they say, we want a Durga Puja, we want a Shiva festival, we want a this. And he said, no problem, just give me the money, I will oblige you with the festival. But not Prabhupada. So Prabhupada sat in that big, huge Italian chair. It was as big as the Vyasa-san that I built for him in Los Angeles. He looked very grand. And he was holding the Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī up. Where's the video? Okay.
An Italian chair.
Italian, yes, Sicilian, no doubt.
Wow.
So he was holding the, and let me put the phone in place, maybe I can do this. He was holding his hand up. Let's see, how can I do this? He said, do you accept? You do not accept. He stood up like a ramrod. And then the guy started, we paid, we gave you money, And Prabhupada just held the Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī up and said, do you accept? You do not accept. And so everybody was freaking out. Brahmananda had opened the temple there, and they had, all the Gujaratis had begun to worship him as a sannyasi, and he accepted letting them bathe his feet and touch the water to their heads and stuff like that. Partly innocent and partly you know what. But anyhow, he was sitting there saying, and Bhavananda was there, and they were saying to each other, well, it's his movement. I measure they're going to kick us out of here after Prabhupada confronted them like that. They'll kick us out, I'm sure. Said, but it's his movement. I guess we'll just go on somewhere else to some other part of the world. So anyhow, Prabhupada kept on shouting at him, do you accept? You do not accept. And the guy kept squawking. But later on that same night, guess where we were? we were in that man's house. He had a nice house, not huge, but not a mansion, but he had a nice house. And he had a big table, and all the devotees were sitting there, and family members of his were sitting there. And they were serving incredibly good prasadam. I must say one thing about the vegetables. In Nairobi at that time, it was all homegrown, because the people we stayed with had a nursery and they had plenty of land, so they grew their own vegetables. When we ate the eggplants, ate the tomatoes and stuff like that, potatoes, when we ate it, we almost were in shock because it didn't taste vegetarian. It tasted like beef. It tasted like meat. It was so rich with minerals and so rich in the ghee, from their own cows. It was just insanely good taste. And then after that, when I went to Calcutta, everything tasted like diluted, and so it had been washed in water until no more nutrients were in it, which is basically what it was. But anyhow, there we are eating at the table. Prabhupada is at the end of the table. I'm sitting to his left in the next chair next to Srila Prabhupada, and everybody else is down the table. And they were handing out something I had never even heard of or thought of before, but it was some sort of pickle made of green mangoes. We all know what it is, achar, mango pickle, whatnot. But I'd never even heard of it before. And they passed it over, and Prabhupada took some, and it handed to me, and I took some, and I put it on my plate. But then I looked at Srila Prabhupada. Questioningly, my eyebrows raised, and he, understanding that I didn't know whether it was allowed for us to eat it or not, it might have had onions or garlic or something, who knows. I looked at Srila Prabhupada, and he tipped his head just slightly, just to give me the idea that, yes, I could try it. And then I watched the others, and they took the mango pickle, and they had sabji, and they put a little mango pickle with the sabji just to give it some kick, which it already had. So I did, and I put it in my mouth. And then I went into a state of shock. It was just, I was in a state of shock. When it hit my taste buds, I was sort of a gourmet cook as a karmi. I became a gourmet cook as a devotee. So not because I'm like cooking, but simply because I like to see what things can turn into when you cook them. But anyhow, what I did was I tasted it. It was like getting electrocuted. I sat up with a jerk. My eyes shot open, and I stared straight ahead with my fork half loaded in my hand. And then I heard laughter, open laughter. And coming from my right-hand side, I looked over. There was Srila Prabhupada. He'd been watching me like a hawk to see what my reaction to the achar, the mango pickle, would be. Remember, this is homemade mango pickle. You put the mangoes and everything in mustard oil or olive oil, in the oil on the roof of your house, and it's all cured in the sun. So it's just an amazing taste when it's done properly, which you'll never taste it done properly until Satya Yuga, because I doubt if you'll ever see it done properly in Kali Yuga, this Yuga. So anyhow, I heard laughter. I turned up, I saw Srila Prabhupada, and he was laughing so hard because of my astonished expression on my face. He just thought, he knew I was going to react, but I gave him his money's worth, I should say, by reacting so incredibly powerfully and strongly by the intensity of the excellence of the taste. And this was in the house of the same guy that Prabhupada said, do you accept, you do not accept. So I thought we were out of this tree. We're going to be sleeping under banyan trees. But no, we were at his house for dinner. Then there was a big mela, a big lecture that Prabhupada gave at the Brahma Samaj. And there were several thousand people, I mentioned that. And Prabhupada was lecturing. Then he turned it over to his disciples, like Shabbos the others, and they probably into the audience. Why are you doing like this? Why are you doing like that? He didn't ask me to talk, lecture. I guess it would have been too intense. But the thing is, they went around and around and around, and then Prabhupada took over the lecture. Apparently, this was what they had wanted him to do, was Durga Puja. Okay? I'm giving you a treasure here that you will not hear from anybody else, presumably. Not many survivors from that experience. And I was looking at it, and then Prabhupada was sitting up like a lion, roaring. He said, and there is Durga with 8 arms, and she has got sword, and she has got trident, and so many things for killing, he said. And who is she killing? He cried out at the top of his voice. She is killing demons. And then he cried out again at a lower voice. He said, and who are those demons? He cried out to the audience. And I will tell you one thing. I know we're on live YouTube, but I will have to mention, you can always tell when you've made your point in a group like that. Do you know how I could tell? Do you want to guess?
The smile.
No, they were not smiling. They were horrified. What were they doing that made it know that we had hit them on the gut level?
I don't know. You tell us.
They were passing air like there was no tomorrow. Farting. They were passing air. Everywhere you could hear and smell air being passed. They were upset by Prabhupada. And this is Prabhupada's response for having been asked to do a Durga Puja, you see. So he came there to give a lecture, didn't do a Durga Puja, then started talking about Durga. Yes, she's got so many arms, she's riding a tiger or something like that, right? And she has got a pitchfork and a sword. He said, and what does she do with these weapons? They said, she is killing demons. Prabhupada roared through the microphone. And you can imagine, as I've just described, what the audience was doing when he screamed like that. And then he cried out, looked from side to side with a look in his face as though he himself were a lion. He looked from side to side at these people and said, and who are these demons? He cried out. You know, they were shocked to the core. Then he shouted out after that, we are those demons. She is killing us. See, we are the demons that she's using these weapons. Then he sat up straight with a snarl of contempt on his mouth. And he said, and they are worshiping. That was his answer to
Durga Puja.
the gentleman asking him to do a Durga Puja. He did a Durga deconstruction. So I'm mentioning this, it's taking time. It's a treasure of a story. You will not hear it from anyone else unless you hear it from somebody who heard it on this, what you call it, the face, what are we on? This is YouTube, right? Not YouTube. Yes, YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, so whoever's on the YouTube will hear it. But I'm tying this together to go back to Prabhupada saying, because of Ramakrishna, Bengal has gone to hell. And why was Bengal going to hell? They were worshiping Kali. With her tongue hanging out. Her tongue hangs out because she killed her husband by accident, stood on his chest, looked down and said, oh my God, I killed my husband. And like any decent lady, she stuck her tongue out of total mortification. That's why her tongue is sticking out. So now to finish it up, what was happening in Bangladesh when this riot took place? I'm not saying the Muslims should have done what they did. Obviously, the Muslims did it because they hate Hindus. End of story. But why did Krishna allow it to happen? That is my big question. Because you asked the question at the extreme. I'm talking to the Prabhu Bangalore Prabhuji, that asked, how come in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I protect my devotee, and then they start killed and tortured and beaten up in Bangladesh? And my answer is, I can quote Prabhupada, these weapons are to kill the human beings. And then Prabhupada looked around and said, and they are worshiping. So like, what could be more ridiculous? And he said, because of Bengal, because of Ramakrishna Bengal and Nityananda, not Nityananda, what was his name? Yogananda, not Yogananda. What was Ramakrishna's sidekick?
Vivekananda.
Vivekananda, yeah. Because of Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, Bengal has gone to hell. So now I go back to my original question that I asked at the beginning. It's very possible that the ISKCON temple suffered that misfortune completely without any involvement with the Kali festival.
So you're saying that there might be remnants of Durga Puja and whatever else that Prabhupada would not be happy with going on, and this is a side effect of the deviation or potential.
Well, I would say that, let's say, they've got the Fisher Mansion in Detroit, and they put up festivals. If they wanted, they put a Durga up there for their weddings and stuff. Just like the Hindu temple in Sacramento. Everybody is there. So is it possible that ISKCON conceded to the desire of their, no doubt, huge Hindu congregation to have some recognition of Durga, of Kali on the Kali Puja? If that happens, then we can say, and they are worshiping. Because we cannot worship Kali. We can honor Kali. We can offer obeisances to Goddess Kali. We can weep in front of the murti of Goddess Kali, but we cannot worship her along with Lord Krishna, because she is material, Shakti, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Right. Okay.
And besides which, Kali is the same as Maya Devi. Maya Devi is the goddess of illusion. Maya Devi will not even stand in the presence of Krishna. It is said that she will stand only behind Krishna because she's ashamed of what she's doing at the request, needless to say, of his parts and parcels known as the jivas. The jivas want to be deluded, and so she deludes them. But she's ashamed because she herself is a pure devotee. And yet we can offer obeisances to Goddess Kali or Durga or Maya Devi as a pure devotee. But we cannot worship her on an altar or observe the type of festival they were observing in Bangladesh. Okay, that's all I have to say. I'd like to know if what anyone wants to think of that. And I have to, the last thing I'll say is, I do not have proof that the ISKCON temple was participating. I do have a clue, because if they saw that Kali Puja, they should have shut their doors and locked them. Not because they didn't want to get burned down, they had no idea that would happen, but because we do not open our door to Goddess Kali worship. So that remains to be seen, and I will offer my prostrated obeisances to whomsoever can find out, was ISKCON or was ISKCON not even slightly implicated It's also possible the doors were open so that any Vaishnavas that wanted to could come in and have darshan of Srila Prabhupada and the deity. That's possible. So I'm not here to condemn ISKCON Bangladesh. But I'm simply raising a question. If that question is they were participating in the festival, then whatever happened in the temple was arranged for by Lord Krishna. Okay, that's finally at the end.
Okay, Shashi Kumar, did you like that explanation, or do you have any further clarificatory points you want to make?
I got what that Prabhu had said, but goddess Durga is an avatar of Srimati Radharani, and I think ISKCON Bangladesh ISKCON did not involved in Durga Puja. I think so. Lord Krishna,
Ramachandra, you did the answering from now on, okay? Or Rupa Manjari, or you can know, you know the answer.
Yeah, so they were not involved in Durga Puja. Okay, so did you? I mean, you have to verify that, but I see what happened. It seems like Prabhupada's Murti got burnt, and what else did they do? The Muslims or the terrorists? They destroyed the temple.
Did they damage the deity, the Radha Krishna deities?
They killed somebody.
We cannot hear you, Rupa
I
Manjari.
also see that
They killed two people, I think.
Srimati Radharani's husband is also Kali worshipper. Was also Kali worshipper. Abhimanyu, Ayan was also Kali worshipper.
I don't understand. Ramachandra, can you explain?
Srimati Radharani's husband, Ayan, was also Kali worshipper.
Oh, Shashi Kumar Prabhu is saying that Radharani's husband was a Kali worshipper in, I guess, Krishna Leela or something, right?
Well, not in Krishna Loka.
Not in Krishna.
How
Right?
can you worship a material goddess in Krishna Loka?
Yeah, Krishna didn't recommend. Even in the Govardhan Puja, Krishna recommended to worship, Govardhan
We don't
hill.
worship any demigods. I just asked her that. Even Ayan was also Kali worshipper, right?
Oh, why don't you look it up, Ramachandra?
No, it's go ahead. What did you say, Shashi Kumar?
We in our family we don't worship demigods. We worship only Hari. But I just asked her. Ayan was also Kali worshipper, right? Even though he was husband of Srimati Radharani, who is the supreme goddess, and Ayan was also an expansion of Lord Krishna, right? I heard that somewhere.
Are you getting that from Srila Prabhupada's books?
No. I nowhere saw that in Srila Prabhupada's book.
You have not seen it.
Yeah, no, not it.
I have not either. So Ramachandra, go ahead. You've got the
Okay, yeah. So if you haven't seen it,
you've got the reins, you've got the bow. Now start shooting.
yeah, whenever we talk in this Istagosthi, we refer to Srila Prabhupada's books, Shashi Kumar Prabhu. Anyone can write anything and present it. So
And they do.
yeah, and people do that. So if you see it in Krishna book or in Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada saying that Radharani's husband, who is Krishna, or
Why not look it up from the nectar of devotion? Why not look up and find out, what is Radharani's husband's name? Is it Abhimanyu?
I don't know. What is Radharani's husband's name? I can find out. Hold on.
He's married to Radharani, but Radharani is in a love relationship with Krishna. So why not look it up and see, does Radharani's husband worship Durga?
Her husband's name is Abhimanyu.
Yeah, yes. Or maybe you could look it up, Rupa, but I think Ramachandra knows.
Yeah, let me look up the name Abhimanyu, see if anything is mentioned like that.
Radharani's husband, Abhimanyu, worshipped Durga, or worship Kali, or worship Maya.
And it is also said that Ayan is an expansion of Vishnu himself.
Who is?
That Ayan or Abhimanyu, husband of Radharani.
Is an expansion of Vishnu.
Yeah. So nobody
that's-
can become husband of Radharani other than Vishnu, right?
Exactly.
Who have that capacity?
Exactly.
Even Lord Shiva has not that
Perfection
capacity.
Do you have a copy of Prabhupada's Nectar of Instruction known as the Bhakti Rashamrita Sindhu? If you can get a copy, and you can get it from Ramachandra, you can mail it to you, or you can get it probably from what you call it, from your Bangalore the Bangalore temple, the Akshaya Patra temple. You're in Bangalore right now? Haribol?
Say Prabhu.
Oh, you're in Bangalore?
Yeah, I'm in Bangalore.
Sure. So can you go to the Akshaya Patra temple on the hill and get yourself a copy of the Nectar of Devotion known as Bhakti Rashamrita Sindhu?
Oh, when I go there next time, I will definitely.
And that will give you all the relationships of Abhimanyu, Krishna, Radharani, everything. There's a whole big section on it.
Yeah, and then I have only Bhagavatam, Krishna, and Bhagavad Gita of Srila Prabhupada or of ISKCON. I will
wonderful.
Get it when I go next time.
Yeah, well, I welcome
Okay.
your questions and your intellect and your sincerity and your inquiry is very important, because Istagosthi means inquiry and make statements and ask questions, not as a embodied person, but as a jiva, as a spirit soul. So go ahead. Ramachandra, you found something?
Okay, no, I didn't find anything yet. I'm still looking. The name comes up several times, so I'm just going through the hits that it comes up in.
Well, how about the Nectar of Devotion?
Okay.
Bhakti Rashamrita Sindhu.
Okay, let me look it up.
Would be described, I think.
Let me look it up in Nectar of Devotion. 1 second. Okay. I have this program so people can see it. Let me share the screen.
Yes, that's nice. Now, we do realize that when Rukmini was going to get married to Sisupal, before she was kidnapped by Krishna, she was headed for the Durga temple. Not because she was a worshiper of Durga per se, but because that was the Vedic thing to do when you get married. Durga is the person who's like the officiating deity to, even though she's a demigod, but they were in the Varnashram system. They were only pretending to be materialists. They were not materialists. They were pure devotees. They were Radha and Krishna. But people other than Radha and Krishna there were acting within the context of the Vedic culture, and therefore Rukmini was walking to the temple of Durga as part of her marriage. That's when Krishna came in, swept her off her feet, popped her onto his chariot, and galloped off. And Prabhupada describes just like a lion steals the prey from the jackal. And Abhimanyu, horrified that his bride-to-be had just been stolen from under his nose, cried out, "Just see how Krishna is just like a jackal stealing the prey from under the nose of the lion."
Okay, yeah, nothing comes up in the Nectar of Devotion. So the word Abhimanyu, I looked it up. It comes up 6 times, and nothing
more than
to do,
that.
yeah, nothing to do with worshiping Goddess Durga in the Nectar of Devotion. So
Did you look up something like, is Goddess Durga worshipped by Abhimanyu?
no, no, you can't look it up like that. You got to search by the name or Kali Let me look up the word Kali in Nectar of Devotion.
Okay. Is our Prabhu sure that it is Durga, not Kali?
Let's see. Kali Yuga comes up. Kali. Okay. This is interesting that people might not know. This is from the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 8. And therefore, if someone thinks that he can chant Kali Kali or Durga Durga, and it is the same as Hare Krishna, it is the greatest offense. Get it? Therefore, if someone
clear.
thinks he can chant Kali Kali or Durga Durga, and it is the same as Hare Krishna, that is the greatest offense. So,
Yes. The goddess of illusion is not the same thing as the
okay, no, Kali doesn't come up. Let me look up Durga.
reservoir of pleasure. The
Okay.
illusory reserve of the goddess. So I would say our problem is that somebody wrote an account and put Kali in there for Abhimanyu to worship without it actually being part of the legitimate Shastra.
Okay, someone commented, Aryan Singh Prabhu commented that, Prabhu, this is the pastime video where it is said that Radharani's husband worshipped Kali.
So
Okay.
where is it?
Let me load up the video and see where this is going to.
Is it an ISKCON video? A Prabhupada video?
It's not a Prabhupada video.
ISKCON video.
It's
ISKCON
kind of
video only.
okay.
ISKCON Prabhu was only saying that Abhimanyu was worshipping. He was a great devotee of Mata Kali, and Lord Krishna manifested himself as a Kali when he was with Radharani. And Jatila and Kutila complained about Radharani is with Krishna. So, like by hearing that, Abhimanyu arrived to the place where Radharani was with Krishna. That time, Krishna manifested himself as a Kali, and Radharani was worshipping like Ma Kali. And by seeing that, Abhimanyu, hey, you made me fall like that. Rather, my wife is worshipping Mata Kali, who is my for whom I'm devoted, and you people complain wrong about Radharani. So from this day onwards, I will never doubt Radharani. Like that, Abhimanyu will take a oath. This was the story.
Okay.
To save
So
Radharani from Abhimanyu, Lord
Are
Krishna
you
himself
finding
manifested as a Kali.
that video, Ramachandra?
Yes, yes. I'm loading up the video. Is it in English? Let me load it up. 1 second, Prabhu.
Yes, it is in English.
Okay, great. So let me play it. 1 second. All right.
Is it by Prabhupada?
It's not a video by Prabhupada, but it's an ISKCON production, I guess. Let me see.
Well, that means that whoever spoke had to be speaking from Prabhupada,
Yeah, let's see.
which they may or may not have been doing. Generally speaking, anybody that's a sannyas. What? What a nice calf.
Engage in his service regularly, and they used to pray to the Lord to have a child who will enhance their bhakti, and they wanted their child to be a great devotee. So she used to assist her.
Prabhu, this is a wrong video, I guess.
This is the wrong video?
Yeah.
Sati Sakubai story.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, this devotee is not wearing tilak.
Go ahead. Who wants to speak? They can speak one person at a time because like 3 or 4 people speaking. Okay, go ahead, Prabhu. Shashi Kumar, you want to narrate the pastime? Go ahead.
Hello, I didn't get Prabhu. What did you say?
I said you can narrate the pastime so we can hear.
Pastimes of Sati Sakubai.
Yes, that one. Go ahead. Is there a video or can you narrate that?
I can tell the story.
Okay, go ahead. You can tell the story. Go ahead, Prabhu.
But kindly tell us where you heard the story. We're not being doubtful, we're being careful.
I don't remember the names of parents of Sati Sakubai, but by birth she was the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna. She when she was when she was born, devotee. She was born in a family where our family was devotee of Lord Panduranga. It is a story happened in Maharashtra. Mata Sati Sakubai was the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna by birth, and she was keeping the idol of Krishna. And wherever she was going, she was carrying the idol of Krishna. She was singing the glories of Krishna. She was making mala every day for Krishna. Like that, she has grown up, and a family had searched a husband for her, and marriage happened. But after the marriage, Mata Sati Sakubai had to suffer a lot of things in her husband's home, because her husband's parents were not a devotee of Lord Krishna. They were not at all a devotee. They were atheist. Uh, her husband, her father-in-law, means her husband's father was not there. I think he died or went somewhere to Tirtha Kshetra, or he took sannyasa. I think only her husband's mother, and her husband's daughter, sister were there, and they were an atheist. So by seeing the worshipping of Krishna by Sati Sakubai, they were insulting. Don't waste flower for worshipping Krishna. Don't waste oil for worshipping Krishna. Don't waste food for worshipping Krishna. Don't make prasadam to Krishna. Don't keep a idol at all Krishna in the puja hall. They did not let even Sati Sakubai to keep the idol of Krishna in the puja hall. That time Sati Sakubai took that idol to her room, and she was worshipping Krishna in her room. One day, they were devotees of Krishna. They were her mother. I mean, her husband's mother was always complaining all the nonsense about fake stories, like your wife did this, your wife did that, your wife did like that. They were complaining all the wrongs about Sati Sakubai to her husband, but her husband was not listening to anything, because he knew that his wife is really very loyal to him. But since it's happening, one day devotees of Panduranga were going to have the darshana of Lord, because Brahma Rathotsava was about to happen in Pandrapur. This was heard by Sati Sakubai, and she also decided to go there. Huh?
So
But when she
what
was...
Shastra is this from?
Hello?
What Shastra are you?
What book is
Shastra.
this from? What text is it from? What book is it from?
The story is in Bhavishyottara Purana. No, it's not in Bhavishyottara Purana. Story of Panduranga is in Bhavishyottara Purana. This is a folk tale, but it is a real story. Still in Pandrapur, that Sati Sakubai is worshipped as a devotee of Krishna. Still, she's not a myth. She was there, and she's also getting worship obeisances from the devotees in Pandrapur. There is a separate gudi for Sati Sakubai in Pandrapur. All the things which Sati Sakubai was using for worshipping Krishna is still there. Hello, can you? Am I heard? Are you hearing?
Yeah, we can hear you, Prabhu. We can hear you.
When she heard that Brahma Rathotsava was going to happen in Pandrapur, she decided to go. But when she was about to go, her family, like her mother-in-law and her mother-in-law and sister-in-law, tied her to the pillar. You should not go. You should not go like that. And so they tied with a rope tightly to a pillar in their home. Then Sati Sakubai was praying Lord Panduranga. Hey Panduranga, please take me to your temple. I wanna have a darshan. I want to see Brahma Rathotsav. It is my desire, like that. That time Lord Krishna, he was with Rukmini Mata. And Rukmini Mata said, "Hey Krishna, see how your devotee is suffering. You can go and help her, right?" At that time, Krishna said, "If I help her, you have to suffer. Lord Krishna said to Rukmini Mata, if I go on help Sati Sakubai, then you will have to suffer. That time Rukmini Bai replied, okay, whatever the suffer I will get, I will suffer, but you go and help please Sati Sakubai, because she's the greatest devotee I have ever seen. Like that, so, Rukmini Mata pleaded Krishna. Okay, Lord Krishna said, okay, I will fulfill your wish, I will go and help the Sati Sakubai, but be ready to suffer. Then Rukmini Mata, okay, I'm ready to suffer. Okay, Lord Krishna left Rukmini Mata and went to Sati Sakubai's home, and he saw that that Sati Sakubai was tied by a rope into a pillar, and he saw. So Krishna manifested himself as her husband and went there, and he acted like her husband only. Hey Saku, why are you like that? Who tied you like that? Krishna asked her in the form of husband. She said all what had happened. What did have happened? Okay, Krishna.
What's going on? Ramachandra,
He's narrating a pastime.
from what Shastra?
He said the Shastra. Prabhu, what book is it again? Can you clarify? Pandu, what?
No,
And who
there
is
is
the
not.
author?
It is a story.
Who wrote it?
There is not.
That person is saying that Krishna idol, they are worshiping the Krishna idol. How can we know if this person is in the Vaishnava Sampradaya?
She
Who
was.
is his guru? Who is his disciple?
There was a guru for her. I think Namdev. Namdev was a guru to her.
Who?
Namdev. Santa Namdev.
Nandi?
Namadev. Santa Namdev.
Is he in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya? Is he a follower of Lord Chaitanya?
He is not Gaudiya Vaishnava. He's a
Then why are
Vaishnava.
we
but not
listening to
Gaudiya
what he says? We're in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, and we are considering Lord Chaitanya to be the Yuga avatar. That has to come by disciplic succession, not just from a book somewhere off a shelf, you know.
I didn't get what Prabhu said.
We have to know books are books. I've read thousands of books. I didn't have any television as a child. I lived on the country on a farm. Didn't know anybody until I was 10. So I read hundreds and hundreds of books. So books are there, but that doesn't make them authority. Now the only books I consider authority, Prabhupada's books, not hundreds of books that I read of philosophy and literature and all those other things because I was bored living on the farm. So I need to
Lord
know,
Krishna
we need to
does
know
thousands.
who is this writer, who is his guru, who are his disciples, and what is his authority to call Krishna's Murti an idol.
No, nobody called as idol, Krishna as idol. I don't say anything like that.
You repeated several times that they were doing something with the idol of Krishna, IDOL. Don't you catch that, Ramachandra?
They were not. Letting to worship her. Their family was not letting to keep the idol of Krishna in their home. I said that.
Oh, he was saying they were not allowing the devotee worshipping Krishna to keep a murti of Krishna at their home.
Murti, yes, yeah. But before that, he kept on talking about Krishna idol. Is he saying he did not say the word idol?
Oh,
I heard him say it. Huh?
He did use the word idol, yes. But anyways,
okay. We don't use it. So the point is, we don't need to spread out stories without foundation. If you can show where this writer, this author, this sadhu is connected to Thakur Bhaktivinoda or Bhaktisiddhanta or to Prabhupada, then we can consider what he's written. Aside from that, how can we even think about what he's written when he's not in a direct line from Lord Chaitanya? Is he? What's his connection with Lord Chaitanya, this writer? It has to be clear. It has to be a clear unbroken line of the Sadhak succession.
Yeah, he's telling a story that is coming from the outside of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, meaning maybe they're devotees, maybe they're not, maybe it's a village story, maybe it's not. We don't
Okay,
know.
well, you're the chairman of the board. Why not instruct him that we do not do that?
Right
we
there.
only accept. He's using that idea of Abhimanyu worshiping Durga to support the idea that there was a problem in Bangladesh a day or two ago. That's not substantial enough to deal with real bodies, life, real people being killed. We cannot go on a piece of essentially indirect information from some source that we do not know, from some guru that we do not know, from some lineage that we do not know. Because if you go to India, you can find thousands and thousands of different accounts of Abhimanyu and Krishna and Radharani and all of the topics of the nectar of instruction, nectar of devotion. All those topics are discussed
Okay.
all over India, but we don't accept them all. We only accept we don't even accept from Prabhupada. We accept from Prabhupada because it is coming from Bhaktisiddhanta, because it is coming from Bhaktivinoda. That's the only reason we accept. We don't just accept any book on a bookshelf in a Hindu bookstore to be equal to Prabhupada's writing. Not because we follow Prabhupada, because we've determined that Prabhupada is actually the Shaktavish avatar representative of Krishna.
Okay. Do you want any clarification, Shashi Kumar? I think we'll leave it at that for now, because here, if we had something in Prabhupada's books, then we could have, discussed. But it seems like whatever you're bringing up, it's coming up from some other book that not written by Srila Prabhupada. So we'll
Story, right? Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Radharani story.
Why not ask him if he can accept that in this conversation, Istagosthi, we are only dealing with the teaching of Srila Prabhupada coming straight from Lord Chaitanya. From Chaitanya Charitamrita will be,
Right.
from Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's where we're getting our source. And Prabhupada published those books. So we can't take stories from outside of that. This is a wonderful devotee with an intelligent mind, a troubled mind, because he's wondering, he brought up at the very beginning, he was bringing up the issue, well, how in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that protect by devotee, but just see how many people are, all these devotees of Kali are being killed, and we're bringing up that Krishna does not protect the devotees of Kali. And I pointed out fairly elaborately, perhaps too elaborately, how Prabhupada regarded Ramakrishna, who was the big guy about Goddess Kali. And he said that because of Ramakrishna, Bengal has gone to hell, which means they're worshiping Kali. So if you want to bring up Kali, there must be reference in Prabhupada's books. And then we will discuss it with joy and appreciation for you for having found it. We're not stuck with our own ideas. We don't care about our own ideas. We are simply going by Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. So Ramachandra, what's next?
What's next?
Okay, does this Prabhu see our point? Does she understand and accept what I just said?
Okay, let me ask him. Shashi Kumar Prabhu, do you see where we're headed with this? When we discuss in this Zoom meetings and discussions, Istagosthis, we refer to Srila Prabhupada's books, conversations, letters, and this is where we refer to here. I'll show you where. So our writing and our speaking is related to the topic. This is the form compendium of Prabhupada's writings. So,
and can he accept that Prabhupada's speaking and writing is as good as the supreme absolute truth as though Krishna were speaking?
Yeah, he's reading Prabhupada's book, so he must accept or he's realizing that point.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
ask him. I want him to be happy. He's not happy. I'd like him to be happy.
Srila Prabhupada is like, I'm missing the. I think I would have gone for some 10, 20 years ago. I could have made Srila Prabhupada directly like that. I feel. I regret. Why could not I see directly Prabhupada?
Well, that is
But
a
in
good
my
point.
dreams, Srila Prabhupada comes in my dreams and I offer service to him.
Joy.
Good.
He was listening. Prabhupada was listening Bhagavatam story. I was reading Bhagavatam. Prabhupada was listening in my dreams. Like that, I don't know. But Srila Prabhupada
good.
comes in my dream. But it
Can
would
you
be
agree?
good.
Can you agree, at least for the time being, just stick with Prabhupada, what he said, his opinion, his view, and not try to become disturbed if you're mentally to get your mind disturbed or agitated by reading about Abhimanyu worshiping Durga when there's or Kali where there's no, we can't find the reference where that could be. So why not just drop it? It's somebody else's idea, mixing demigod worship with Vaishnavism, and they do it all the time. Let's just say they were concerned about the devotees in Bangladesh. And if you can find out if there was any Kali worship going on in the ISKCON temples, then we would have a sense
Hello,
that this whole
Prabhuji.
thing was a warning. Yeah.
Prabhuji?
Yes.
So we need to know, was that attack by the Muslims a warning or to ISKCON or not a warning to ISKCON?
Hello.
Had we become implicated in that worship or not implicated? But as far as a festival for Kali, how can we argue that they should be stopped? This is not for Kali Yuga. Kali is not for Kali Yuga. If the Muslims came and attacked the Kali, Kali would attack the Muslims. Why didn't Kali destroy all the Muslims? That's what she did with the case of the devotee who came into the temple and her own worshippers, Durga, her own worshippers were attacking the great sadhu, and she actually broke open in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. She broke open her own murti and came out and killed all of her own followers. So that gives you an idea of who Goddess Kali
Okay,
actually is.
Shashi Kumar, Prabhu, what do you want to say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada comes in the disciplining succession of Madhva, right? Srimad Madhvacharya.
That's part of our sampradaya.
Yes.
When I look at the chart of Srila disciplining succession, and even in Bhagavad Gita, in the opening, it is given like that.
Yes.
From
Yes.
Lord Brahma, from Krishna to Brahma, Lord Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vedavyasa, and Vedavyasa to Sri Madhvacharya.
Yes.
So, if Srila Prabhupada comes in the disciplining succession of Srila Madhvacharya, but why there are no such commentaries of Madhvacharya of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is not there in his books. In Bhagavatam, we find in Bhagavatam still I didn't find any commentary of Madhvacharya. In Bhagavad Gita, I found very rarely, only 2 to 3 points of Madhvacharya's commentary I found in Bhagavad Gita. Why it is not there? If it is a disciplining succession coming from Sri Madhvacharya.
What is wrong with what Prabhupada has presented? Why you want to go back to the even previous
Even in
Acharya?
Bhagavad Gita, no, there is no wrong. It is the supreme now. There is Srila Prabhupada's commentary is so absolute. There is no doubt.
Now, do you take into account
if it is coming from Sri Madhvacharya Sampradaya, why Madhvacharya's commentaries are not mentioned? Like, why it is not there? Madhvacharya's commentaries are not there.
If it's coming from the Madhva Acharya, because this Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage is coming from there, why isn't the commentary of Madhva Acharya in the Bhagavad Gita? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
There's no doubt in
Yeah, Prabhupada has presented the commentary. Madhvacharya appeared in a different time. Prabhupada appeared in a different time. So Prabhupada was, the specific person chosen to write the commentary. So he presented it for you and I to understand. Now, if Madhvacharya presented it, how would you be able to understand it now?
Yeah, that's a good point. You're establishing that the guru speaks to the ear of the population of whom many will become disciples.
Yes. So if Madhvacharya's presentation was there, who would have been able to understand it? I mean,
He left.
Prabhupada, huh?
So he left.
Oh, he left. Okay.
He left?
Oh, he's back in.
Okay. Now, when we're talking about Madhvacharya
hello.
Sampradaya,
Yes, you're
can
back.
we take into account that who is the origin? Who is the origin of the Madhva Sampradaya?
Shashi Kumar, who's the origin of it? Is it Lord Chaitanya?
No. It's Balaram in Krishna Loka. Baladev is the original Acharya, and from Baladev comes down there are 4 Sampradayas. Our Sambhra, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, comes down. But when Prabhupada wrote to Brahmananda, we should all imagine that we're being dragged up the Sampradaya by Lord Nityananda. We have to remember that Lord Nityananda is Balaram, but in the case of the Yuga avatar, Lord Chaitanya, Balaram, as Lord Nityananda, is a shortcut to the complete Sampradaya. We don't need the complete Sampradaya since Lord Balaram, the head of the entire Sampradaya, came and is the head of this Lord Chaitanya's being the Yuga avatar. So Yuga, like Chaitanya being Yuga avatar and Balaram as Nityananda, we don't need anything above that. We're in desperate times. This is when the people are all getting wired for taking less than human births, much less. I was just talking before with Rupa Manjari. I saw on National Geographic or something, all these creepy, crawly things that they're finding at the bottom of the ocean that live for hundreds of years and never come out, never see the sign of day. They're very ugly. They're very grotesque. And I was thinking, is this part of you take one birth and another birth and finally you become a cow and then you become a human being like that? Or is this some entirely different context? And I couldn't help but conclude that these are all humans that misused their human form of life and were cast down to become these hideous creatures in the bottom of the ocean, hiding and gobbling each other and
Right.
sticking their spines into each other. These were humans like us. So what's the difference? We have taken shelter of Prabhupada. They didn't.
Try, yeah.
That's the difference. And Lord Chaitanya wants everyone in this age to take shelter of Krishna's holy name. This is Radharani's favorite thing. So because of that, we are making a lot of jivas very, very lucky simply by chanting.
Okay, so enough of that now. We had a conversation with Bashu Ghosh the other day, remember? And
Yes.
It was very interesting how the conversation went. It seems like he is so much entangled in the ISKCON corporate society where anything we discuss or we talk about, the gurus, the Kanishta Adhikari gurus or the GBC, he will not be able to understand anything related to
He'll
that.
have an answer for everything.
Yeah, basically.
He's very intelligent guy with a very good intellect, but so is a college professor. Very intelligent, has a good intellect. He doesn't make him a guru. He
Right.
makes him a college professor. So he's not a guru, he's a college professor.
Mhm.
So that's fine. we're not going to approach him with what we say, because he'll have an answer. We'll approach him with what we write.
Mm-hmm.
And if he has an answer, let him put it in writing.
Jai.
And we will have an Istagosthi with him. He could be in our, we could be in the League for 10K conversation we're in right now, except it wouldn't go anywhere. Oh, we'd go places, we'd have nice anecdotes and talk about the good old days and
Yeah.
who's married to who and all that nice stuff. But it wouldn't do us any good for the purpose of the League of 10K. So we're going to be writing more and more documentation. And when we write it, we want it to be watertight, irrefutable from Lord Maharaj Yudhisthira all the way down to the present moment. And when that is there, we're not even need to get entangled with the ISKCON calamity to any great degree. What we need to do is establish what is actually true. GBC is elected. And we have the quotes from Prabhupada that said, and when you start making up your own ideas and drawing your own conclusions, and the whole thing has become damaged, right? We saw that quote just yesterday
Yes.
or something.
Yes.
So that we say, okay, what about the direction of management? Oh, Prabhupada changed his mind. Oh yeah, real prayer. Show us the new direction of management by which he changed his mind. But we have not yet seen it. So and you take away the unelected GBC, then the gurus are out on a branch that gets
Right.
chopped off of the tree. Who's going to create gurus if there's no GBC to create them? And how does a GBC have the power to create a guru when he himself may not be on that same platform of Uttama Adhikari or even Madhyama Adhikari or any sort of Adhikari? How can
Okay.
you do it?
Jai.
Go ahead.
So,
You're in charge, so you run the show.
okay, so we have about 40 minutes. So anyone else that'd like to comment, they can. So allowing them to unmute themselves and make a comment. So there you go. They can unmute themselves and ask a question, clarification, a point, or anything from Prabhupada's writings.
Do we have very many people on the call?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, total 6 participants in our Zoom.
Oh, yes. Well, tell them that you told me to not say anything, and now they should say something, and I won't say anything.
So yes, anyone who's watching on Facebook and YouTube and anywhere else, if you'd like to participate, please
do.
join the
We would
WhatsApp
love your
group and
association.
then come in the group, and then we'll post the link there. And then you can also be part of the active live Zoom discussion.
This is Istagosthi, the more the merrier. And
Yes.
we relish the prospect of that we will have their association.
Jai. Okay. Mahaprabhu, what's going on? Mahaprabhu, you have been quiet. You've been listening. Or you're sleeping. What's going on? You got to unmute yourself. There you go.
There we go. I'm listening. I'm
You've been,
here.
you've been listening a lot. What sticks up in your mind?
Well, a lot of terms and a lot of discussion is a little bit above my head. I don't understand a lot of the vocabulary,
Last
but I'm getting
Wednesday,
there.
I recommended you keep a piece of paper. Any term that you're not familiar with, write it down. Then you and I can talk on the phone, and you'll get the meaning. You can write it under your question.
Maybe you can get your dad in the Zoom meeting, huh?
Maybe one day.
Yeah, you can say hi. We can say hi to him.
Absolutely. As soon as I move into it, maybe tomorrow or the next day. Maybe by the next Zoom meeting, you'll see him.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
That's right.
That'd be great.
Fantastic. But when are you
Hare
moving
Krishna.
in? What day? What day are you moving?
We have to give up the key, I think, either tomorrow or Monday.
So it's pretty soon.
Yeah, pretty soon, man.
Did you
After
get
22
everything
years
out?
in this place.
Did you get everything
I'm going to miss
out?
it. Say it again?
Did you get everything out of the
Almost.
of your house?
Only my stuff is left. I have a few things and we're good to go.
That's because you're inclined to renunciation. You're thinking, why should I take it? I will renounce.
That's
No,
right.
well, not yet. So anyhow, and you have little area rugs to put over the dog, the stains from the dog and stuff like that, so the landlord doesn't see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good.
All right.
I'll be
Mahaprabhu.
okay.
You'll be all right, huh?
Did you
Hare
own
Krishna.
that place and did you sell that place?